Hi there guys, it's Joey and today's video is about pop culture, witchcraft and Harry Potter. So this is inspired by a few things. One is that I have a tailor-made spell set for a lovely lady who requested a Harry Potter themed spell set. The other thing is that someone is going to go see Fantastic Beasts tomorrow. Newt Salamander, yes please. But it's you know, going back into the world of Harry Potter. How exciting is that? Just a little. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about pop culture and how things, modern interpretations of witches and witchcraft and brand new magical worlds, are they relevant? How are they relevant? Can we use them as archetypes? Can we bring them into actual witchcraft? Or as some people would have it, is it all this kind of new agey nonsense and should we not touch it with the barge pole and you can't do that, that's not what witchcraft is, etc. So pop culture witchcraft takes different elements, and I've talked about it before in one of my other pop culture videos, and takes elements from perhaps a more modern sensibility and maybe draws parallels with more ancient archetypes by showing strong female warrior energies. You can sort of make comparisons, for example, between, say, Athena and other warrior goddess energies, and perhaps Wonder Woman, as Wonder Woman's coming to the fore again with a new new DC movie very, very soon. I know the difference, that's just my migraine brain, apologies. Still in the recovery stage of migraine brain, which does this. That's the still shot for this video. Anyway, and I think it's really interesting in terms of, can we work with these more modern archetypes? Well, I don't see any problem with working with modern archetype myself, as I take an evolutionary stance to witchcraft. I've talked a little bit about it with the goddess Morrigan and how I sense and feel and see images in a modern sense from, you know, video games or dark art or here, there and everywhere, and it just makes me think of Morrigan and looks like a modern presentation of the goddess, and I have a whole video about that. So in this video I want to talk a little bit about the world of Harry Potter and how stories such as this can truly shape and change how we look at witchcraft, and indeed how other people look at witchcraft. Because I think, although it is an obvious basic misunderstanding of what witchcraft actually is, because they're not exactly the same thing, clearly. If I could go to a school and have a wand and ride a griffin, I would not be here, I would be there, I would be out. I would be like, bye muggles, I'm out. But it is a world building experience, and I think that's a really interesting form of alchemy that we can look at in terms of incorporating it into witchcraft in a modern pop culture sense. Now you can, of course, apply archetypes and draw strengths from certain elements of the Harry Potter world, and if you've gotten very, very deep into the stories and the books and you've watched all the movies and there's something incredibly magical about the Harry Potter universe and it touches your soul and makes you feel alive and excited, and it's brought people to sort of associate witchcraft with that perhaps rather than completely negative, which is the point that I meant to make a moment ago, and my brain went beep, jump over it, hurdle over it and talk about something else. Anyway, so it brings a sort of more positive general attitude towards witchcraft, which, to be honest, we need, even if it's not aligning with what witchcraft actually is in terms of what witches actually do. At least it brings a sort of positive element to it, so it's like, oh cool, like Harry Potter, rather than I'm gonna burn you at the stake. You know, it's a much more positive element, and if you can go from a point, if you can, in a conversation about witchcraft, if you can go from a positive point, like, oh well, there are some things that are kind of, you know, that kind of align in Harry Potter, such as, well, we all ride around on broomsticks and clearly we're all evaporating all over the places, and clearly I need a pet griffin, I want a griffin, somebody hook me up with a pet griffin, They're amazing. I have a cuddly one from Warcraft, but that's about it. So, as does my nephew actually. He loves his griffin, just like his auntie does. It's, yeah. Anyway, sidestepping. But the whole point of Harry Potter in a modern sense, well, obviously in a modern sense, but in a pop culture witchcraft sense, is that we can take attributes from this incredibly built, incredibly deep world and apply it to witchcraft and spells in modern terms. Now, we can take things such as which house we think we'd be in terms of which, which Harry Potter house from the school would we be in. Now, I'd probably be Gryffindor if I had to guess. I'm one of those people that could have been Ravenclaw or could have been Gryffindor, but I personally felt that bravery was more important. I'm the living personification of Hermione. Annoying, too intelligent for her own good, believes in courage more than brains. But I love the idea of bringing those attributes into spellworking. You know how some people, you're in their pop culture, they use a Wonder Woman picture on the tall glass candles like Molly does, or you can bring in certain types of artwork or certain types of superhero, and it all comes together in an amalgamation of modern archetype. Well, you can bring that in with Harry Potter for certain. And so when I was asked to do a spell set for Harry Potter, it's like, it's cool, we can do it. And I had to think about how I wanted to apply this kind of modern pop culture in a meshing with what actual spiritual pagan witchcraft items. And we'll get to that in a bit, of what I actually settled on for each of the items and how I sort of meshed this sort of pop culture and archetype with what witchcraft and spirituality actually means. But some different ways in which we can do this is that you can take the attributes of things such as the houses, and you like, right, my Gryffindor candle is for when I need to be strong, when I need to be brave, and I need to overcome my fears, and I need to step out into the world and embrace who I am and be courageous. And then your Slytherin, for example, might be when you needed to be cunning and you might needed to be clever, but perhaps in a very not underhanded way, but and not deceptive. But when you need to be quiet about things and you need to sort of be cunning about things, and there's maybe like there's a situation at work, and if you're overt about it, then you probably get fired. But this situation is negatively affecting you, and you need to snake around it and get through. And that's an important point which we'll talk about in a minute. And then you can of course bring in Ravenclaw for when you need a boost to intellectual pursuits and you need to have your brain switched on when you need to think through a situation. And then for your Hufflepuff is your hard-working and your heart-based, basically, work that when you need something to keep going and get through and have a heart of a situation. And I think they align quite well to the elements. You can make arguments for different ones. I would say, I think undoubtedly Ravenclaw would be air. Probably Gryffindor would be fire. So then you've got earth and water. I think you can make arguments either way, but I would probably go with Slytherin being earth because snakes having, their bellies to the ground. Although badgers do burrow in ground as well. So maybe because you do get water snakes, so maybe snake would be water, maybe Slytherin would be water, and then Hufflepuff might be an earth. But you can mix and mesh the elements with all of them, to be honest. But that's a little bit of a way that you can crisscross over from like witchcraft spell work into using these archetypes. And then of course you can use the animals and the animal representations and the animal totem energies that come from each of this. So when I was saying like snaking your way through and having like a positive transformation, and that's something you could use Slytherin for in a positive light, that in some of the books, for example, I should imagine, spoiler warning, but Harry Potter movies have been out for a long time, there is an element of redemption to Draco's character, of transformation, even though he was a Slytherin. And Snape is another huge example of a Slytherin of transformation and redemption, and sort of snakes get given a bad rep in modern times. So you could draw those Slytherin energies in for that kind of magic work, should you so wish. And then, of course, there's this huge world building that went on in the incredible mind of J.K. Rowling and everything that has come since. And this incredibly detailed, intricate world, which is a form of witchcraft itself. It's an incredible form of alchemy to have created an entire world that people worldwide recognise from nothing, from the imagination, from the power of the word and the power of the written word, and books, and then that sort of escalated into movies and so on and so forth. And it's everywhere in theatre, and as in drama, as in plays rather than as in cinema drama, and it's in our homes now, you know, the merchandise, and we all are interested in taking the tests which house we belong to. And with it coming back again with magical beasts, I actually have a real life example. Now, Fantastic Beasts isn't out yet. Well, it is out now, but I will be going tomorrow. But when I went last week to the cinema, it wasn't out, but they had these t-shirts, and I want one, and if they've still got some tomorrow, then I will get one. And they were these t-shirts with "Witches Live Among Us," and it was like a wood carving image like you would see in like medieval times of like witches dancing around this bonfire, and they were selling that to promote Fantastic Beasts amongst the Fantastic Beasts poster and something else, Beasts poster, and something else. And I was like, and that's more of a modern witchcraft thing, but kind of arcing back to actual history that took place with regards to witchcraft. And then this incredible world kind of draws attention to their history of what actually happened to witches, and crossing boundaries of understanding and making people re-aware of things that happened to witches in the past, which again can have a positive influence on modern witchcraft, because then, you know, the general public becomes even more aware of things that happened to witches in the past, and the way that, you know, witches were abused in the past and burnt at the stake and things. And then that brings it into a modern context of, well, that's not somewhere we want to go back to, let's try and be a bit more understanding. So there's just some of the ways that Harry Potter sort of brings in a good air of understanding and connectedness to modern witches. And I think Harry Potter is one of those big things that connects a lot of people. And I think a lot of witches enjoy Harry Potter. Not everybody will, which is fair enough. I was kind of heavily reluctant in the very, very beginning because I was a big Tolkien fan. And then Lord of the Rings, the way the media did it, they kind of like pitched Lord of the Rings versus Harry Potter. So for a long time I refused to watch the Harry Potter movies because I was watching Lord of the Rings and I was not interested in getting into a debate about it. And I was at a young teenage age when the first Lord of the Rings came out, so I was kind of influenced. And rather than think, oh, I can watch both and sod this media nonsense, I kind of bought into it and just watched the Lord of the Rings movies, which I still love to this day. And then when I went and actually read the books first, and I was kind of sold, because how can you not be? I love the books. Goblet of Fire is my favourite, in case anybody's interested. I was kind of disappointed by the Goblet of Fire movie. I think it let the book down, but that's my book snobbishness. And yeah, it's this incredible alchemy. Like I was trying to say, my brain's like, what were we saying now? I can't remember. Wee woo, wee woo. But this incredible change that and connectedness to other people that comes about because of Harry Potter. It's something that a lot of people can have a conversation about, and it brings a little bit of fun in. It reminds us of a little bit of like childlike innocence, because technically the original Harry Potters are children's books. Technically they're all supposed to be children's books, but let's face it, that's the way J.K. Rowling got them published, is the way that J.K. Rowling got them published, and that's wonderful, and you know, they came to life because of that. But I don't think necessarily they're just children's books. I wouldn't go as far as to argue that. and it's something that can be shared and creates connections between people. So I think it can absolutely be a part of a modern practice. If you are more of an evolutionary person, if you believe in taking modern elements into your practice and it works for you, then why not, to be honest, as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe that we can practice the way that people practiced back in time, because to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think we know if people were practicing, how people were practicing, and whether they were doing what they say they were doing in these books that we may still have access to. Such is the problem of history, that we're reading from sources and source material, and to be honest with you, a lot of the source material is very, very interesting, you know, where people have been told, tell you their experiences in these books, and a lot of it could be fabricated. So, plus we don't live in that era anymore, and I think it's counterintuitive to what time period we live in. So I think, given that I'm talking to you through the medium of me recording myself on a video camera, which I will then computer and render and upload to the internet, given that anybody doing that back then would have been burnt at the stake for witchcraft, because, you know, this technology would have looked like witchcraft back then, I think the point is kind of mute to say we need to go back and practice the way that our ancestors did. I think there's something interesting in looking at a more traditional approach, and for some people it clearly works, but for me I think that we're passing and moving through in this direction, and I don't ever want to go in that direction. So lastly but not leastly, we shall have a look at the spell items in question. So we will start with the smudge. So the smudge, all the items that were requested in, like, what physical items, and then I sort of put my spin on what I thought would best apply to each individual item. So I was asked to make a smudge, and this smudge is for the enchanted forests and the magical creatures that exist within the enchanted forest, within the Harry Potter universe. It lent itself best to a smudge. There are a number of ways I could have gone with a smudge, but given all the other items, and it's a set, I wanted this one to be a little bit more earthy, a little bit more of the physical world of Harry Potter, and because it lends itself to energies of trees, of the enchanted forest, of nature devas, it has a connectivity to the earthly realms, as well as bringing in archetypes. It also smells really nice, from magical worlds that exist in our imaginations or in our spiritual based baths. Then we have a spell orb. The spell orb was a little bit difficult and is a little bit unusual, because she wanted it to be like looking into Hogwarts. So I went and got the charm, which is the Hogwarts crest specifically, and then I actually painted windows on. Something a little bit unusual. I've been doing the spell orbs for years now, so it was a little bit of something different. And then the votives are for the houses of Hogwarts. So we have a Hufflepuff, and these are the house colours. So Hufflepuff has the black and the yellow. Hopefully you can see that. And then Slytherin has the silver and the green. And then Ravenclaw has the blue and the copper. I think Ravenclaw is actually my favourite out of the votives. And then Gryffindor is the deep red, burgundy red, and the gold. And like I already mentioned, you know, about applying those attributes of those houses to magic. So then we have the spell salts. I love these. The spell salts are for Gringotts Bank. There's silver, copper and a sprinkle of gold, and it's to do with wealth magic. So bringing in wealth and fortune and things of that nature in a very goblin-like sense. I love the spell salts, they're awesome. Then we have the spell oil. Let's give it a good shake. It needs a good shake. Oh, I don't know if you're going to get the full glitter. This is Expecto. This Patronum. This is for your Patronus. And creates a kind of, it's a blue and white glittery oil that connects you to your inner energy, which is what the Patronus is, a totem animal on an energy spirit level. So that's what the oil is for. It's very kind of, the light is making it look very weird with the backlighting, but there you go. Okay, and then last but not least are the 3 pillars, and the 3 pillars are all modes of transportation throughout the Harry Potter universe. So we have the night bus, there's plenty of glitter shimmy shimmy and the light backlighting, which is purple. The broomstick, which is a lovely red wood, like the broomsticks with a gold, like the gold writing on. And last but not least is Floo powder, which is the emerald green. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope the lady enjoys her products, and that's it for this particular video. Many blessings.